The Exit 8 is a game that has been out now for almost 3 years. In fact, it's had a movie made about it in Japan, which should release sometime this year in North America. But for every video game that involves completing objectives, there will be players who want to complete it as fast as possible. Enter the speedrunning community of the Exit 8 series. Since day one of its release, the Exit 8 has seen speedrunners such as the legendary Tora26, Suchieke, along with the super moderator ND606 and many, many others, dominate the landscape across its many categories and version types. But the Exit 8 is not just a computer game available on Steam. It is also available on consoles such as PS4, PS5, and even mobile, and somewhat more recently, the Switch 1 and Switch 2. This is where our story begins. On April 17th, 2024, the Switch 1 version of the Exit 8 was released. So far, only one runner, Aoi Kappa 00, had completed the Beat the Game category as of the time of recording this. This is the most popular category. In this category, speedrunners attempt to get all initial 7 hallways as anomalies, then the final 8th hall as a non-anomaly. This allows for the fastest theoretical playing time and is heavily based on luck as much as skill. There are other categories of the Exit 8, such as the one I've primarily played called Find Anomalies, where you must identify the anomaly seen before turning back, which requires much more skill in identifying anomalies quickly rather than simply being as efficient as possible with turning back. And of course, bingo. But Beat the Game is going to be our main focus for this. On August 29th, the new patch, called 1.1.0 on the computer version, added 5 new anomalies, which required new categories due to this difference. Along with it, the Exit 8 game was ported to Switch 2, and the Switch 1 got an updated patch to match the version. At this point, the updated Switch 1 version and Switch 2 version were put together. Initially, there was little activity. The first player to submit any time to the Beat the Game category was the player Vince Wanlord, who posted a 4-minute, 23-second long run, which is considered slow for this category. Player No Name Studios 101 was the first player to complete the Switch 1 updated patch on October 1st, 2025, with a more serious time of 1 minute 42 seconds. This was improved 2 days later to 1 minute and 40 seconds. For the rest of the year, there was little activity, except from a certain player named Super Oscar. Keep that in mind. But then, in the month of January, the Switch category exploded in activity, thanks to the sudden actions of a certain player named Nagomi. Nagomi burst into the scene and posted a quicker time of 1 minute 36 seconds. No Name Studios 101 had posted a time of 1 minute and 38 seconds and improved his time to 1 minute 24. But Nagomi was not going to let this slide and submitted a time of 1 minute 23 seconds. Super Oscar then out of nowhere took first place with a time of 1 minute 18 seconds. By this point, the category had gone from subpar times to rapidly approaching the optimal time, and it didn't stop. Nagomi posted the ultimate time, 1 minute and 8 seconds. This was incredibly close to the 1 minute 6-second record of the old patch, and Super Oscar followed up with a 1 minute 13-second run. The leaderboard stood with Nagomi clearly on top, and there was no contesting it. Or was there? You see, Super Oscar made an accusation in a comment below the video, one that would lead to a rabbit hole of discovery. Super Oscar claimed that the movement speed was faster in Nagomi's video. Now, let's backtrack a little. When playing Exit 8, you are able to walk or run as the player. Speedrunners, for obvious reasons, run to maximize speed, but unlike some other games, this speed is fixed and at the same rate across players and platforms, as there is no boost method or ability to increase the running speed organically. Initially, I had dismissed Super Oscar's claim, assuming that Super Oscar was being less efficient in strategy compared to Nagomi. After all, a lack of efficiency will increase time spent, and this can be seen in slower runs in the beat the game category for PC. Despite getting the same luck, runs can be slower due to a worse strategy or lack of skill. But comparing Super Oscar's run with Nagomi's run showed a definitive discrepancy. Now, normally this might be just a curious oddity, but in the world of speedrunning, a difference, however small, adds up over time. It didn't help that Nagomi had no history of speedrunning, as the account was made on the same day of Nagomi's very first submission. As part of the research of this video, I had asked Super Oscar a series of questions. In response, Super Oscar said the following: when Nagomi reclaimed the world record, I wanted to break it again, but no matter how many times I tried, I couldn't break the 1 minute 8-second barrier. Even if I broke the rules, 1 minute and 9 seconds was the limit. When I compared Nagomi's running speed with my own, I felt that Nagomi's speed was a little faster. This means that even when Super Oscar didn't look down the hallway as part of the rules, the time of 1 minute and 8 seconds was still unbeatable. Around this time, I started to do research. By January 17th, I realized that the movement speed was different and began messaging the moderator, ND606. The main reason is that I compared their runs by overlaying them and noticed that the discrepancy appeared to be immediate within the first hallway. Now, normally, when beginning a speed run for the Exit 8, you start running down the hallway. There should be little to no difference across runs assuming the player runs constantly, but Nagomi's run was faster. There was no doubt about it. But before you think that Nagomi cheated, there was another revelation that ND606 related to me. Nagomi's run and Ioi Kappa 00's run from before, they had the same movement speed. There was no difference. So Nagomi couldn't have used sped up footage, nor could Nagomi have used a cheat engine. And the audio was identical between Nagomi and Super Oscar, ruling out splicing or editing of any kind. So I ended up doing the research. I looked at Nagomi's old runs, Super Oscar's runs, and No Name Studio 101's runs, and I found something surprising. Initially, both me and ND606 were under the impression that the speed difference was due to the Switch 2 edition of the Exit 8 being slower. But this slower movement speed wasn't just present in the updated patch, but also on the old patch originally released on Switch 1. Essentially, this meant that if either version was played on the Switch 2, it was slower. This culminated in ND606 comparing the two platforms directly in a video, and it was proved without a doubt that the Switch 2 platform had a slower running speed than the Switch 1 platform. After this revelation, a news announcement was made and the categories were split, where they remain split until this day.